this story. Historic artwork has been damaged by a group of pro-Palestinian activists at Cambridge University. Footage posted online shows a painting of former Prime Minister Lord Balfour being sprayed with red paint before being slashed. The government's advisor on political violence and disruption, There Is a Thing, described it as outrageous and senseless. The Palestine Action Group claims the piece symbolised the bloodshed of the Palestinian people since the Balfour Declaration in 1917. You can see all the pictures there. I mean, sorry, it's just horrendous. Now, this picture, because it was in a college, it's not behind glass, it's not protected, there's no security guards, not like in a gallery or museum. You saw what they did to it. It's not just paint, that was actually ripped to shreds. Joining me now is a GB News host of the Saturday 5, Albie Amakona, and political commentator Kai Wilshire, who is a new one, a new person for me to play with on my show. Excellent. Thank you both for joining me this afternoon, gentlemen. Now, we've all seen that footage. It was just, I mean, it's like, And I would like to point out that the young lady doing that also was in possession of a £1,000 rucksack on her back, obviously struggling there. I'm coming to you first on this one, Albie. I mean, what is going on here? This is just outrageous. I mean, lock her up, throw away the key.
Look, I think what happened was appalling, and I do think criminal charges should be brought against this protester. But let's understand why Lord Balfour is such a controversial figure for people in the pro-Palestine movement. It was the Balfour Declaration, a declaration in his name, which drew up the boundaries of what is presently today the Palestinian territories and what is now known as the State of Israel. And for a lot of pro-Palestinian protesters and people who feel very strongly about the pro-Palestinian cause, the Free Palestine cause, they almost see that as the original sin. So that is why this man is so controversial. But do I think this is the way that you display your displeasure at the Balfour Declaration and the situation in Gaza at the moment? No, that is absolutely not how you change people's minds and get people on your side. This is just going to push people away. It's the same as the violence and vandalism that has happened at BLM protests, at Just Stop Oil protests, at Extinction Rebellion protests. People probably, on balance, think racism is bad, want us to be greener, want us to be more environmentally friendly, want the situation in Israel and Palestine to get better. But this is fundamentally not how you get more people on your side.
Fundamentally, we're talking about vandalism here, aren't we, Kai?
Well, we absolutely are. I mean, I think Albie's totally right to say that he's a controversial figure, right? But British history is littered with controversial figures.
That's the point of history.
Absolutely. And
this was going back to 1917, was the Balfour Declaration.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, look, I'm doing a bit of a Keir Starmer here because I've actually changed my opinion on this.
Splinters on the bum.
Absolutely. You know, during the Black Lives Matter protests, we saw the Colston statue being toppled and graffitied in Bristol. Now, at the time, I thought, I can't get that excited about a statue. I'm not that worried about a statue. And I see that when you stack up a painting versus the suffering of the slave trade and the suffering as well of the Gazan people, then I can see the appeal of seeing it as a legitimate target. My problem with that now is, why do we care about art? Art makes us think, makes us feel, but it also makes us understand the world around us, understand other people. And so that's why I totally agree with Albie, that this kind of cultural vandalism is just not the way to go. And it's not going to win people over to your cause either.
Well, this is the problem. It's not going to save one baby's life in Gaza, and it's not going to win people over. I mean, what... And the one thing I'd like to ask Kate, Albie, is, I mean, this is a young lady. She's obviously, you know, thinks she's doing the right thing no matter...
She's not.
No, I would agree. What reaction does she, as a young woman, think she would get if she was doing that kind of vandalism in any area controlled by a group like Hamas, as a young woman? What reaction would she get?
I don't think she'd be doing it, Dawn, because she'd know the reaction that she would get, because living in a free and liberal democracy, you can peacefully... Well, this is not a peaceful protest, but you can show your displeasure with something politically without being prosecuted or persecuted for it or put into some sort of physical harm. So she wouldn't be doing it in a place like Gaza. She wouldn't be doing it in a place like Saudi Arabia. And actually, I want to talk about the university's response, because Trinity College Cambridge has said Trinity College regrets the damage caused to a portrait of Arthur James Balfour during public opening hours.
Regrets?
Regret? I mean, that's a word that I use when I've done something stupid on a night out. Not if someone has destroyed a historic painting. for virtue signalling reasons. This is not going to have any impact on what is going on in Israel and Gaza. So I think regret is a bit of a weak word.
Yeah. Now, this is the other problem here, isn't it, Kai? If she, in this country we have the right to protest peacefully, people, not violently. What she's doing is actually criminal. It's criminal damage. So she could be arrested, she could be charged. But we don't... I mean, you mentioned the Colston statue in Bristol. I mean, the police originally just stood and watched that. They didn't do anything at criminal vandalism. And even when it did go to court eventually, the jury let them off in any case.
Absolutely. But, I mean, look, we do need to...
Let people get away with it?
But we do need to have a conversation, a wider conversation, especially after what we saw Rishi Sunak say on the steps of Number 10, about what is considered peaceful protest. And we can't... I worry that we begin to limit the window of what is considered peaceful versus not. Now, this was not peaceful. This was criminal damage. I think it's appalling. But we can't be closing that window, because then you're going to see more acts like this where people act out and do things that cause irreparable damage to the culture of the country.
Yeah, but, I mean, she could have just gone on a peaceful march. I mean, we've seen lots of marches going on at weekends. There's one planned for today. Why did she think that was necessary? What on earth did she... What is her thinking? Is it because we do let people get away with that?
I think that is part of it, but also I don't understand how this woman feels that she is not able to express her displeasure at what is going on in Israel and Palestine through democratic means. George Galloway was elected in Rochdale the other week, a clear political protest against what is going on in Israel and Gaza. It caused the Prime Minister to give a speech, as Kai just said, on the steps of Number 10. Lord Cameron is talking about a sustainable ceasefire in Israel and Palestine. You have these marches going on every week that some people call hate marches, and there are some very awful characters on those marches. But there are people expressing their displeasure at what is going on in Israel and Gaza without destroying priceless pieces of art.
Absolutely, and changing opinions. And finally, one of our, I think it's coming on later on, Rafe Howder-Manku, one of the regulars on this show, he actually suggested on social media today that maybe judicial canings would be a good cure for behaviour like that. I'm just telling you what he said, not my idea.
Out to the public square.
Evidently, it's practised in Singapore. Just putting that one out there. What do you reckon to that?
I don't think that's going to win many people over to the cause that we all agree with, really. I mean, look, there's also other ways that you can deface statues and paintings without being this destructive. I mean, we all know about the Mona Lisa getting pumpkin soup all over. Has glass over it. Totally fine. And museums then can also use that. I mean, I think, honestly, what Trinity College should do...
It's a work of art. Here's some soup.
Trinity College should honestly put it back up on the wall as it was defaced and make a point about it. Put it in its context. Use it to educate people. Actually, that's what I think they should do.
That's not... But the point with historic works of art and statues is to educate people. But actually, that's not a bad point, Kai. You can come back. A very good point there, I think. Educate. A ripped painting. I'm loving it. Sort of punkist, isn't it? Right. Thank you very much, Kai and Albie there. Now, it's time for...